People with disabilities face injustice and discrimination in every country in the world, stemming from societal inequalities. The extent of inequalities experienced by persons with disabilities is often the result of shortcomings in the structural, social, political and cultural environments in which they reside, lack of accessibility of physical and virtual environments, institutional barriers, discrimination, exclusion and unequal opportunities. Such exclusion has costs for persons with disabilities, their families and communities, and society as a whole. In celebration of the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, this special episode of Finding Help with Special Needs will be used to discuss reducing inequalities among persons with disabilities by a panel of carefully selected experts and professionals, some of whom are living with disability.
Hello, hello, hello. Happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Finding Out with Special Needs. Thank you so much, Mr. Alex, for always ensuring that this program is indeed inclusive. I want to welcome everyone that has joined us today. Lola Aneke, I see you. For everyone who is watching on our YouTube channel, on our website, on my Facebook page, thank you so much for always spending your Sunday evenings with us on Finding Out with Special Needs. Like we all know, it's a time to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So let's get ready to learn yet again today. Do away with the things that are not totally right when we talk about special needs and disability. Learn new ideas and research and evidence-based ideas that we can use to help make the world a better place for individuals with disability and truly make the world an inclusive one for individuals with disability. I am Lola Aneke, the name never changes, and I'm always excited to have you. Thank you so much. For everyone that will be joining, Uzoma, I see you. For every person that is here this evening and plans to still join us, thank you. So like I said earlier on episode 46 of Finding Out with Special Needs, our topic for today is reducing inequalities among persons with disabilities through inclusion. We have fantastic individuals who will be joining us today as our special guests, because indeed today's episode is a special edition. So we have very special people who will be joining us. I'll be schooling us or educating us on how to reduce inequalities among persons with disabilities through inclusion. We all know that the 3rd of December is celebrated as a day for, individuals with disabilities. So, United Nations celebrate 3rd of December to promote equal and full participation of persons with disability and to take action for inclusion of persons with disability in all aspects of society and development. And the theme for this year, which was celebrated on the 3rd of December, is called Building Back Better Toward a Disability Inclusive, Accessible, and Sustainable Post-COVID-19 World. So today, we're tying that to International Day of Persons with Disabilities. And we are talking about reducing inequalities among persons with disabilities through inclusion. I can't wait to learn. I cannot wait to unlearn, and I cannot wait to relearn. And I'm sure each and every one of us here is also excited about today's topic. So I'll be inviting my guests in real quick so that we can begin today's discussion. Dr. Mustafa, thank you so much for joining us. Uche Maduke, thank you for joining us. Aisha, thank you so much for joining us. Barrister Catherine is meant to be here with us. I'm sure she will join up pretty soon. While we wait for her, or as we proceed, I'm sure she'll join us. I'd want us to introduce ourselves. So I'll call our names And I need you all to please unmute yourself. Barrister Mustafa, please unmute yourself so that we can hear you speak with us. Thank you so much. So today, our topic again, like all know already, we know that is reducing inequalities among persons with disabilities through inclusion. But we always do on Finding Up with Special Needs is that we like our guests to introduce themselves. I read each person's bio and I was again wild as always. So I would want to start with today. I'm going to break the protocol. I want Dr. Mustafa to introduce himself first, tell us who you are and what you do. And then we'll go to Aisha. Uche will speak after Aisha. And if Dr. Catherine is available, she'll also introduce herself. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And can you hear me quite well?
Loud and clear.
Thank you very much. And it is my great pleasure to join today. Thanks, Lola, for inviting me to one of the important meetings where we discuss disabled people rights. It's an important moment. Always, the International Disability Day is an important moment where we reflect on what has been achieved, what barriers that still face disabled people, and we still for sure have a lot. And yeah, my name is Mustafa Attia. I got my master degree and PhD from University of Leeds on disability and development. I'm currently working as a disability and inclusion international consultant. I'm like co-chairing Leeds a disabled people organization, which is but I'm working as an activist in general. I am originally from Egypt, where I had the chance to participate with numerous policy-making organizations and NGOs to oppose the main of the people rights, either in policy or practice. And I have my own YouTube channel in Arabic and English as well. And thank you very much again for inviting. Looking forward to listen and enjoy the rest of the discussion today.
Thank you. Dr. Mustafa, could you please let the world know that you are an individual living with disability? Because naturally, people will just feel, oh, they're just thinking about, there's this cliche in the disability world that there's nothing about us without us. And really, just hear you speak, you are indeed a doctor. I was almost tempted to call you a professor. I want the world to know that. I know, but in this part of the world, in Nigeria and probably Africa, the world to know that individuals with disability are doing great stuff. So please tell us if you're an individual living with disability and what form of disability you're living with.
Yeah, for sure. I am an individual with disability. I'm a blind person. And yes, for sure, both the UNCRPD and SDG is now increasingly calling for the theme of participation and for the theme of voice of disabled people to be part of the discussions. And this will never happen without having a disabled experts who were able to achieve a good positions in research and also in professional international organizations who can their voices be elevated to post policy research and maybe development discussion. And it's very important to mention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mustafa. Thank you. I needed us to hear that from you. Thank you so much. Now we're going to Aisha. Aisha, please introduce yourself and the great work you're doing. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, and thank you for having me. My name is Aisha Dirisu. I'm a trained development economist from the University of East Anglia, United Kingdom. I'm a project management consultant with a government parastatal here in Nigeria. I have a certification in nonprofit leadership and management from Lagos Business School. And I'm also the executive director of Penel Foundation. Penel Foundation is a nonprofit that envisions an inclusive African continent where persons living with disabilities have access to decent jobs and opportunity to contribute to nation building. And I mean, we've been doing quite a lot of getting opportunities for persons living with disabilities in Nigeria. For instance, we partnered with the Chevney Scholarship, and we've been running the Chevney workshops this like the second year, and we're happy to announce that this year one of the participants got the scholarship for his master's in the UK. And we run an e-mentoring program for youths living with disabilities in Africa. And our first cohort was last year. It ended this year. We had people from Kenya and Nigeria. And we're happy to say that 3 of them are now gainfully employed and 1 got an internship opportunity. So that's basically a summary of what we're all about at Penal Foundation.
Thank you and well done. That's quite encouraging. Thank you so much for what you do for individuals with disability. Thank you. Over to you, Uche. Could you please unmute yourself, Uche? Oh, Uche seems to be off for now. I'm sure she'll be back and she'll introduce herself. So we'll begin the topic right away, and then let's see how far we can go in the next an hour thereabouts. So it's an interesting topic and I'm really excited about it, and the fact that we have individuals living with disability and someone who works with individuals with disability, and we have among these individuals who are advocates, strong advocates for the inclusion of individuals with disability. So I believe it's going to be an interesting one. I wanted to start with Dr. Mustafa Atia. Could you please
okay,
let us know?
My name is back. My name is Uchenna Madweke. I am a special educator with Open Door Special Education in Jos, Plateau State. I am a woman living with disability called cerebral palsy. I am also an ambassador to Benola CP in Lagos. I also do. Did you hear me? Hello?
Hello, we didn't hear the last statement. Could you say that again?
Okay.
We heard up to,
I also do advocacy for parents with children with cerebral palsy.
Thank you. Well done, Uche. I'm super proud to call you my friend. And thank you for all you do despite the challenges. You still go ahead. You didn't mention to us that you've authored a book or 2 talking about cerebral palsy and disability. Well done. We celebrate you. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Barrister Catherine was in a while ago. I'm sure she'll be back. But let's go straight to the topic for discussion today. And I wanted to start with Dr. Mustafa. I hope it's okay to call you Dr. Mustafa. I'm finding a bit called Atia. Am I correct? Is it Atia or Atia?
Yeah, you call me Atia. That's fine. This is my last name, and you can also call me Mustafa. Don't worry about doctor. It's just
okay. Thank you. So I think I'm good with the Dr. Atia. It sounds fine. Whatever I call, but I'm sure you know I'm calling you. Okay, so I wanted you to. Thank you so much. I wanted you to make this very, very real. On finding up with specialists, we bear it at its ease. We want it to be as real as possible. And that's why I'm very excited that we have individuals with us who are living with disability that can tell us how it is from their own perspective. So I wanted you to go first, talking about the topic we have today about reducing inequalities among persons with disability by promoting inclusion. So I wanted you to please let us know your own experience as an individual. Probably look back to when you were quite younger in Egypt. I believe you grew up in Egypt. I wanted you to enlighten us of what it was like as a child or a teenager or a young adult living with disability. What was your experience like? Did you feel excluded in any way? Were you celebrated? Were you accepted for who you are? What were your challenges growing up as an individual an individual who is blind?
I can't hear you quite well. Can you repeat your question again?
Okay, so I was saying that I wanted us to make this real. And for individuals, can you hear me?
There is lots
Yeah.
of distortion in your voice, so that people can hear you or not.
Can everyone hear me loud and clear now?
I can.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and
I can
clear.
hear you loud and clear.
Dr. Mustafa, can you hear me clearly?
I guess maybe his connection.
Dr. Mustafa, are you still there?
There's lots of distortion happening. So if you don't mind,
I think it's from your end. Do you have two devices on? Because every other person can hear me loud and clear. Okay, while we wait.
I do apologize. That's
46.
here.
Inequalities among persons with disabilities through inclusion. On finding help with.
Okay.
Yeah, now you can talk. Now I can hear.
Okay, great. So I was saying that I wanted us to make it as relatable as possible. I wanted individuals who are not living with disability to experience and understand what you're going through or what you experience growing up as a young adult or a little child in Egypt. What was it like? What was your experience like growing up? Were you discriminated against? If you were, how did it feel? Were you accepted?
Yeah,
Maybe we should all mute.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Okay. Is that all right?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly now, Dr. Mustafa.
Yeah, people are not.
Is that all right? Yeah, I can hear you clearly now, Dr. Mustafa.
So anyone who's not talking, if people
Dual
can
tip.
mute.
Congratulations, Your Worship.
Right. So when it comes to experience inequalities and discrimination that may be due to my employment in Egypt, I think it's to do more with how we as policymakers, governments, or as NGOs interacting with disability and or with the social model of disability. When we are looking at disability, all of you know that disability as tragedy or a problem, and then Mustafa is disabled. So it is his problem. Where this is where the problem comes because policies are sometimes place development programs are not considering disabled people as individual who not receive the. So talking here about definitely following the Egyptian revolution in 2011, Wagal extended on the Egyptian constitution 2014 for time subjects, and we have new law. This has definitely affected positive. But previously, I was in a segregation, is a school only for blind people, and I wouldn't understand what does inclusion mean at that time, and why inclusion is important. What does participation mean, and what sustainability is useful for? And this segregation when because at university level, no one knows what is your capability and what you can do and what assistive technology you would like to have and what is the requirement in order to be equal uh, periods. So a multitude and when it comes to employment, I remember how hard for me to have a job only because a job has been given to me because I'm impaired, not because I am graduated from English department or because I am, for example, having a computer experience. So the jobs at that time, and again, because of the individual disability, discusses the looking at the person's impairment, but not necessarily qualifications and skills. So this is also why I got a very strange job for me to do, working in a painting company that having all colors together, mixing and matching them, which definitely does not fit with my impairment because I'm blind, but also doesn't fit with my qualification. So to briefly conclude answering your questions, yes, all through the way, either through segregated education, challenges that we are facing in higher education, employment, having no access to some specialized services when it comes to health. It's all barriers that disabled people face when policies are not recognizing to their rights, services are not designed and adapted to consider their needs, and most importantly, when community and attitudinal barriers standing in front of PWDs, be it people with disability or disabled people, as people like here in the UK, to equally and acting without any discrimination against them. So, and I like the title of today's session because inequalities is a very cross-cutting, interacting theme that can include many subdivisions and discussions related to disability and inclusion and or exclusion. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that response and for explaining what your experience was. And I think I hear what you're saying, and if I'm not mistaken, and I want others to contribute, it's almost the same story for everyone. The policy was not favorable, inclusive education, and then employment, and all of that. But look at where you are right now. You made up your mind you're going to make a difference, and I truly celebrate you for how far you've come and all that you've done. We'll go to the next question very soon, and I'd want you to put us through as how well you were able to achieve all that you've been able to achieve. Now, let's quickly have Barrister Catherine introduce herself. Hello, Barrister Catherine.
Press ESC to exit full screen.
Wonderful.
Title bar. Title bar. Title bar.
Yes, now we can.
Can we have Barrister Catherine introduce herself?
Now we can hear you. I don't know what's going on. Sometimes we can hear you quite well, and sometimes there is that distortion. But now we can hear you quite well.
Good.
Do I,
network.
Do you have a question to me?
No, we're waiting for Barrister Catherine to speak to us. Someone is signing to her. Once Mr. Alex is signing, she will speak to us.
Thank you.
Mr. Alex, can you tell Barrister Catherine to unmute herself? We cannot hear her. She needs to unmute herself. So please bear with us. We're trying to make this program as inclusive as possible. Catherine is hearing impaired, but she's going to speak to us. But she needs to unmute herself. Mr. Alex, are you still with us? Okay, while Barrister Catherine is trying to unmute herself, figuring out what to do with the microphone, would want Uche to please let us share your experience with us growing up as an individual with cerebral palsy. Did you feel did you feel accepted? Did you feel like a part of your community? Was your family acceptance of you? Was society? We just wanted you to make us understand what your experience was growing up as an individual living with cerebral palsy, a young child. You've done so well for yourself, and we celebrate you today. But we wanted to see and know what your experience was while growing up as an individual with disability. Uche, please unmute yourself.
Me.
We can hear you now. We can hear you now.
Okay. Okay. I was born in 1975. I was born in Jos. During birth, there was a complication. They had to use process, and I became someone with disability, called cerebral palsy. But my late mother was very supportive. She made sure I had the same equal right with my siblings. She made sure I went to school. She took me everywhere. She took my siblings. She didn't let me feel I was different in the house. She gave anything she buy for my sisters, she buy for me. I went to this primary school with my siblings, university, but she made sure I had a good education. She gave me the same opportunity with my siblings. Even today, if you see me and my
Oh wow, we lost Uche for a bit. I'm sure she'll be back, and we're used to this thing, so won't let it affect us in any way. Once she gets back, she'll continue with her. She'll let us know how our experience was. Dr. Catherine will be back also, and she'll introduce herself also. So let's go to Aisha. Aisha, you are an individual that advocates for individuals with disability. What I linking this question to the question I'm going to ask you. When was the first experience with an individual with disability, and what prompted you to do what you're doing with individuals with disability? Could you please unmute yourself, Aisha?
So hi again, and thanks for having. Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you for having me once more. So for me, it's not like most people ask me, do you have someone living with disability, or do you know someone living with disability? And my question has always been no. So I remember going to an office some years back. I think that was about 2017. And I was just in front of the office standing waiting for my cousin when a person living with disability was about coming. So he's a lawyer, and then he was in law school, and there's this thing they do in Nigeria. They do like an internship. So he was going into like a law firm to submit his internship letter so he could intern there. And because the building was not accessible, he was struggling. There were stairs, so we all came, rallied around with the reception, everyone, to try to get him in. And the owner of the law firm came and is like, "You imbecile, I've not even employed you here, and you are taking up my staff. Please, can you just get out of here?" That was the most humiliating experience for me, and that was the point where I said, no matter what, I was going to contribute my quota to ensuring that every person living with disability is not discriminated against, especially in the workplace, especially for access to decent job. And I've heard so many people's experiences of getting into interview stage, and when you get to your interview, you're being told, oh, sorry, because we're sorry, we can't employ because we cannot accommodate you, and things like that is really what broke my heart and made me say, you know what, this needs to stop, this has to stop. Nobody wanted to live with a disability. Everybody has a right and an equal right to live, to have decent jobs and opportunity. So that was the start for me.
Wow, thank you so much, Aisha. I couldn't be, that was 3 years ago, and that was said, those words were said to an individual who's educated and has a right to employment. That was said by an employer of labor. It was, right now I feel so depleted. Thank you for all that you do.
And
Thank
it just
you.
got me thinking, like, I know a lot of people living with disability. We know the education system. We know how it is to even, pass through the whole hurdles of university. I know a friend,
Yes. Oh,
I
that,
know someone that was telling me of her testimony that for her to have lectures every day, she will not drink water or have anything because people lift her up to her lecture hall so that she will not have to eat herself or having people carry her. So imagine someone going through that on a
all
daily basis,
facts.
finished 4 years later, went to law school and still have to go through that. Like, nobody deserves
Unbelievable,
to
really.
go through that.
Nobody
Yeah.
does. Nobody. Oh, wow. Wow. Thank you for taking that up and for all that you do. Really, I truly appreciate you. Like you said, when you were about answering the question, that people usually think, oh, you have a person living with disability or a relative or you are yourself. But like I always say, you don't have to. Really, empathy, every human being is supposed to exhibit empathy. And once you see something that is, when you want to see injustice in any way, every fiber in your being is supposed to fight against it. And I thank you for what you do. Thank you so much. Now, Barrister Catherine, can you, Mr. Alex, we need Barrister Catherine to please introduce herself. Barrister Catherine, please introduce yourself. And as you introduce yourself, we want you to also go ahead to share your experience growing up as a young person or a teenager, a young adult, and your experiences as an individual with disability. Were they pleasant ones? Did you feel accepted? Did you feel, were you included? What did you experience growing up as an individual with disability, even as you introduce yourself, Dr. Barrister Catherine?
So would you mind repeating the question, please?
Hello.
So that's for the questions of Barrister Catherine.
My
Hello, Barrister
name
Catherine.
is Catherine. San Catherine. Surname is Ede. I am a lawyer by profession. I am deaf, but I can talk because I was not born deaf. I became deaf in primary school after my primary 5, but I continued with non-disabled community, coping well with them, and it helped to build me into the strong lady I am today. Always able to face any challenge without giving up. I
I'm sure Dr. Barrister Catherine will back with us and she'll continue where she left it off. Let's quickly go to Dr. Mustafa, are you with us?
Yeah, yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Listening to, thank you, Dr.
Can I
Mustafa.
continue?
Okay, yeah, Barrister Catherine is back. Quick, continue, please.
Okay.
Hold on, Dr.
I
Mustafa.
was age 9 when I became deaf. So after the illness, I stayed at home 1 year to recover fully because it was a very serious illness. I was hospitalized for many months. Nobody knew I would survive. At some point, my father was practically praying and begging me to please die because he's tired.
WhatsApp
He
opening
has
intentional.
exhausted all his money and entered root debt. He was begging me and crying to show how serious the sickness was. I was transferred from one hospital to another main hospital and ended up at UNTH, where I stayed months before I healed. After the healing process was long, therapies were taken. Therapies that lasted for months. So after that, I was discharged fully at home. I still continue with therapy for 1 year before I went back to school. But my father refused to allow me go and join special needs school where disabled children are secluded. He said no, that it will be like setback for me. How can I, at the level I was that time, go back to start with some deaf who are just learning alphabets? So I continued with the school I was in. I was the only deaf then. I've already finished primary 5 before I became deaf. So I went back after 1 year to continue with my primary 6. But I surprised everybody because apart from being the only deaf in the school with no interpreter, I was making it top of the class, always leading, always never allowing anybody to take the first position with no interpreter. But as you know, the way the mindset is, my family still think that deafness has robbed me of the opportunity to be somebody in life. Therefore, I did not register for common entrance exam. I was not given money for that because I did not register for common entrance. I could not be admitted into secondary school. So I missed the first term of secondary school. When it was time, they started pushing me to go and learn sewing, but I refused. Or to learn hairdressing because I am naturally talented in handmaking. I refused. Well, trouble started into home. I refused to eat. I was always complaining, troubling everybody that if my sisters and brothers are sent to school, I should not be discriminated against. At some point, my mother supported me and we won. My father decided to send me to a commercial school, not even a proper secondary school, just a commercial school. I grabbed it with 2 hands. I say loaf is better than none. So I got enrolled into that commercial school. But I still continue to surprise them. Always coming top of the class, top of my set, to the point that the owner of the school at some point started using me to give an example, challenging all my fellow students to try to meet up with my academic excellence. That anybody that happened to catch up with me, we get automatic scholarship. I did not even know of this. They were talking, no interpreter, we not hear what they were talking. But I remember the principal will always call me out during morning assembly or in classroom. But I will not answer.
hear anything they were talking. It was later that my schoolmates started explaining to me what they were saying, that I'm always the best, always this, always that. They use me as an example. And this helped to prepare me to be what I am today. Because I always ask myself, if I can cope this way with non-disabled people, I can as well cope well with them in university institution, whatever course I want to study. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Mr. Alex, could you please interpret that we can hear?
Okay. So after my secondary school, my father died when I was in my SS1. Nobody to sponsor me in school after that. Thankfully, God raised people for me. And with my own determination, I had to travel out to Oyo, where I did my NCE. That school is very, very inclusive. They have a number of disabled students there. Yes, but let us say that maybe there are 25,000 students in total. Out of it, maybe around 1,000 are students with disabilities. The rest are non-disabled students. So, competing with them continued, and inspiring them continued. But the difference now is that they have professionals who are experienced in
Okay, I think we lost Barrister Catherine, and I'm sure she'll be back. I need us to be very, for me, this is the reality of life. Imagine. Okay, she's back. Okay, so I was giving an illustration of what an inclusive classroom would look like. This is the perfect example of an inclusive classroom. Imagine if you don't have, you were away for a while.
I can see you now. Okay. Now, the interpreters I met them restored back my confidence. For example, I don't used to use my speech before because I believe I have ugly speech, deafness induced speech. That was what people who grew up with me after I became deaf made me understand. Because I can't hear my own voice, I believe them. They will tell me, don't greet this person because this person will know your speech is different, your accent is different. Because of that, I became ashamed of my own voice. But there in FCE, professional, when they saw me always hiding my voice, they were like a prelingual deaf person. They started questioning me. So I opened up to them. They were mad and told me, anybody that say that he or she can't hear you is more deaf than you. You must use that your speech fully. You have a very, very beautiful speech, more than me who don't even have disability. Please use that speech. They empowered me. Today, sometimes people will tell me this deafness win, what we call deaf culture, meaning I should not use my speech. I must sign while an interpreter vocalize for me. But when they tell me, I will say no. I them speak without sign, or I speak with sign, just like I'm doing now. And this have helped to build me into what I am today. I'm always ready, no matter what you try to make me look like because of my disability. It don't even get to me because I've already been rehabilitated very well and develop thick skin to any type of negative comments. Today, I am not just a lawyer. I am a Mandela Washington Fellow. I am the Vice President of Association of Lawyers with Disabilities in Nigeria. I'm also an international secretary for the promotion of rights of deaf in Africa with one international organization, and no other position I hold, both in the board and executive capacity of Neno organization. Thank you very much for listening.
Where we will elect executives that will pilot the affairs of this concerned citizens of Nike. Furthermore, nothing have been heard again about the skill acquisition program that was earlier brought up in
You're mute. You're mute, Lola.
Oh, so sorry. There's a background noise, and I'm trying to mute everyone so that we can know where it's from. I'm not sure if it's a text-to-speech or something from one of our guests, but it's off now. It's gone off now. I truly apologize for all the interferences, but it's one of those things that we experience, particularly today, because I'm sure most of our guests have to use technology, assistive technology. So please bear with us. I was trying to explain to you what an inclusive classroom would be. Anyone advocating for an inclusive classroom or inclusion will have to understand patients, understanding, empathy, and all of that. So please, let's bear with us today. With all the background interferences, it's also helping someone out there to understand all that we are communicating. Okay.
Can Barrister Catherine, can she mute? Maybe it's from her end.
Okay, so the interference is off now, and I wanted to just all that I've heard today. I mean, I've interacted with individuals with disability. I have an idea, but hearing all the stories over and over again, I'm seeing cases of no support, challenges, but yet they went above the others. And look at all of our guests today. I believe no one actually, I mean, it's not rocket science to tell us that these individuals have done very well for themselves, and I want to commend their effort despite all the challenges. Imagine Barrister Catherine's story, how she was in class without a sign language interpreter, and she still was able to go through classes without any support, and she did quite well. Imagine when she said the principal was called and was applauding her and giving her feedback about her performance. She didn't understand what the principal was saying. Someone had to say to her that you are the best in school. And she was like, oh, really? She didn't know. But then this brings me to this question of, let me go to Dr. Mustafa right now. At what point, let's talk about the issue of motivation, determination, confidence. At what point, despite everything that was around, that was not favorable to you, to learn and to be included, at what point did you make up your mind, but irrespective of whatever, I'm going to go on and show the world who I am? Dr. Mustafa, are you there? Dr. Mustafa, are you there? I see you moving. Can you unmute yourself? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you quite well.
So, did you hear my question?
Wait, can you repeat your question? Sorry.
So I said, hearing Barrister Catherine's story, Uche's story, even your story, I could see and we could hear you say, look, the system was not supportive, the policy was not supportive, inclusive education, you had to push beyond every barrier to the next level. At what point, for those listening who might be in the same shoes with you, or for neurotypical individuals or individuals with disability, to understand the power of motivation, self-determination, at what point did you tell yourself, irrespective of all that is going on, my mindset will not be affected. I'm going to rise above all these challenges and be who I'm meant to be. At what point, can you remember what led you to say, look, I'm not going to let these things pull me down? And how did you get to that point? Please, could you just share with us so that others listening might also borrow from all that you have to say to us?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, and as you know, challenges is always behind success. So as long as we have lots of barriers to fight, challenges to keep going with, and we know that these challenges will not be easily eradicated, this is the time where we say, yes, we have challenges, yes, we have demands, but we will carry on. I think in my situation, like, because when I finished my university, I started to apply for some higher education studies where an institution say, sorry, we will not be able to take you because basically you are a disabled person and we don't have the enough accessible tools to take you. And maybe because you are disabled, in the means that disability is a community, is your problem, not the community problem. So I started to hear lots of no, to when to join many higher education studies. And this is where, when someone telling you no all the time, this is where I got insisted to say, okay, we have challenges, but we should fight for. And at that time, I wouldn't know anything about disability, inclusion, or this disabled people rights. I know that when I started to join one policy-making organization in Egypt that working about rights of child, and part of which were disability. And this is where I started to see other advocates, NGOs, people who are talking about their demands. At that time as well, disabled people voices were not that a lot. We will have groups that I may call them the Pride Stars. So you have like five, maybe disabled people, 10 disabled activists who are talking in behalf of the majority of disabled people. You have a small number of disabled people who are talking on behalf of many DPOs. And at that time, we wouldn't had enough number of DPOs. That concept was really new. So this is where we people started to came together and say, no, we have challenges, but this is why we are here. This is why we should advocate and fight for it. And this what increased my attention to that we will gain a lot if policies has really, really changed. Because if the higher education law changed, I would be able to access wherever institution that I would like to access. If we don't have these discrimination and inequalities in employment, I would be able to access a decent job that will not only qualify my impairment, but will qualify also my practice and skills, so it's qualification and skills. So this is the challenge. The more challenges that I had, the more stubborn the mind that Europeans say, no, we should move forward, we should destroy them, we should create a new remove the stereotypical image that always attached to disabled people. And this is actually why the International World of Disability is there, to draw the community attention, to draw the non-disabled people, to draw people who are not working in the field of disability attention, to focus in the concept of inclusion. So we know the concept of inclusive development and SDGs, but who, like when it comes to discussion outside the disability arena, you don't have lots of chat about it. And this is why this episode and all discussions and platform are important, to speak in a simple language, introduce concept and definition and its usefulness to non-disabled communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Mustafa. I still have one more question for you before I go to everyone else. And the reason I'm putting this question to you is because of the kind of work you do. And I want you in your position to please explain what inclusion should be. What is inclusion based on your research? What should inclusion look like generally? Because today we're not only talking about the challenges and how individuals with and how we can reduce inequalities among persons with disability through inclusion. We want to understand what inclusion is from your perspective and your studies as a doctor in this field.
I mean, inclusion is a wider concept that not only looking at, so definitely if we, for a moment, put the context of disability aside, we will
yes.
of inclusion as a wider concept that looks at everyone equally, that remove the word of marginalization, because sometimes when we say marginalization, we are marginalizing people, but that because we will say that women, disabled people, maybe Christian people, if you are in a Muslim country, are marginalized. It's already a judgmental term that we shouldn't use if we would like to achieve true inclusion. So the concept of inclusion became, the evolution of that concept became when people start to speak about the concept of participation, right? Some post-modernity, postmodernism, and some advocates were talking about that concept to say that yes, special schools is important, but we need to come to the disability mainstreaming. So we need to be mainstream, and we know the benefits and usefulness of everyone to come together in a community. That concept was really fighted with lots of advocates or people who are working in special education, or people who are calling disabled people as special needs, as they always view that the community is not ready, community is not accessible, there was no reasonable accommodation, so consequently inclusion will put disabled people or any other group in danger. So let's leave each group with their own and building their own, like paradise, or building their own territory. And then the community discovered no, like inclusion is the only solution. And this is where I say participation is an attached concept. And it's great that we can have now some concept to rely on and to advocate for. You have the Sustainable Development Goals, 17 goals called Inclusive Development Goals. You have the 2030 Agenda that's called Inclusive Development Agenda. So you have disability rights merged in more than 11 references across SDGs. You have the UNCRPD, which came as a guiding or a driving force to inform the Sustainable Development Goal within that issue. So the concept of inclusion is not a choice here, especially economically speaking as well. You look at some countries' budgets, or you look at governments, and it doesn't have the ability to build segregated schools and then inclusive schools, for example. So the only option is to mainstream groups together. Your kids will learn a lot if they are included or mainstreamed with other kids within the same school. Then they will not have that. Disabled people will never have the associated stigma, and basically that because people know each other. I remember having lots of difficulty for the students and non-disabled students in higher education, because some of them, it's first time for them to see ever a blind person joining a university. So people looking with you as if you are a strange creature. What are you doing? What's your capabilities? And how you can do that, whether you'll be able to use your phone, how you can type in your computer, how you can walk with your own. So these questions, and that, I don't want to say ignorance, but uneducation, only because we don't have inclusion. So the concept of inclusion came now across research, lots of studies, looking at the inclusion position among intersectional topics, and together you have an intersectionality with women to talk about disabled women. So you have many categories, and disabled people for sure are cross-cutted with all of these categories, and everyone calling for inclusion as a solution. And we have that important slogan of SDGs, which calling inclusive development and then leaving no one behind. I hope that I briefly answered your question.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mustafa. Thank you. I like the fact that you made us understand that inclusion is not just for individual disabilities. Women can be excluded. Any sector of people could be excluded. But today we're talking about inclusion and how it could benefit individuals with disability. And I like how you touch different angles, talking about the sustainable development goals and all that policies that it is in support of that are in support of inclusion. Thank you so much. We're going to go on a short break real quick. Please stay put. Do not leave. We just want to go on a short break, and then we'll be back to look for solutions, so to say, look for ideas on how we can promote inclusion for individuals with disability in every sector: employment, education, politics, transportation. So let's go on this short break real quick. Please, everyone, our guests, stay put. Our audience, stay put. I just want to stretch a bit, take a glass of water, and then we'll be back to continue the discussion. Thank you so much. Hello again. Now we all see here. Thank you so much for staying with us. And I'm sure we're learning so much. Each time I come here with all that I think I know, which I know I'm still a learner, I am always so wowed. I come here prepared to unlearn those practices that are obsolete, and then relearn again and still learn, So I'm really always so excited about finding out with special needs. And I want to say a very big thank you to all of our guests and our audience for being with us today. So before we left for the break, Dr. Mustafa expanded the concept of inclusion and explained it from different perspectives to us. And the next question that I will be asking would go to Aisha. Aisha, are you here? Okay, let's see who's here. Barrister Catherine, are you here with us? Uche, is Uche here? Oh dear.
I am here with you. Don't
okay.
worry about that.
Thank you, Dr. Mustafa. Barrister Catherine, are you here? I love what you do, and I love the name of your organization, Voice of Inclusion. And this just perfect. It's perfect for what we're discussing. I want you to speak to us on how we can. Okay, Aisha, are you back? Please unmute yourself.
Yes, I am.
I wanted to speak because when I asked Barrister Catherine to speak, she's doing so much in this area when it comes to inclusive education. And I know when she takes up the mic, we're all going to be schooled today. So before she schools us, I'd want you to speak to us about possible ways we can reduce the inequalities among persons with disabilities through inclusion in the area of employment. Because from the story you said to us, that was what moved you in the first place to go the route which you are touring down. What ways, what ideas can we embrace as private individuals and even the government, private organization, individuals and the government, because we know that there's a policy, but most times the paperwork is there, the implementation and the practicality of it. What practical ways do you think, or can you share with us today on how we can reduce inequality among persons with disabilities through inclusion in aspect of employment. Please walk us through practical steps that individuals with disabilities can be included when it comes to employment.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. So first and foremost, I'll start by saying that we can still say government is still employing persons living with disabilities than businesses. So it's time for us to begin to advocate for employment of persons living with disabilities by private by businesses, both small and medium enterprises and private firms, basically. And this is by, first of all, telling them about being disability confident, because the truth is most of them just have the assumption of, oh, a person living with this, oh, my building is not accessible, or how will I remember having a conversation with an employer, is a business owner. He said, oh, how will what I do is basically online. How will a blind person, how can the person, how will he be able to, maybe work on my software or design something for me? And by the time I finish educating him on the software we have and the amazing graphic designers we have that are blind, he was wowed. So most times it comes from a place of ignorance. The first thing I would say is businesses, both government and private, should ensure recruitment process is inclusive and accessible. Ensure that there's no discrimination. So when I say accessible, your job adverts, how accessible are they? A lot of people say, oh, but I put up my advert online and it's accessible. How sure are you it is accessible? We have so many web accessibility that you can go through to make whether your job advert is actually accessible to persons living with disability. So make sure that information, your job adverts are in accessible format, e.g. it could be in large print, acceptable application alternative when you're passing them on electronically. Also, communicate and promote vacancies. So when you advertise vacancies, make sure that you advertise through range of channels, because what I'm saying that is now we've gone digital. So gone are those days where people actually, I'm sure if we ask 100 people, it's just maybe 2 or 3 that still look, or maybe newspaper or other forms. Most people go digital when they are looking for applications. So when they are communicating, and they should promote their vacancy and get advice and support from job centers as well. And they should offer interview to persons living with disabilities, because most applications, they don't even they don't most international applications, when you read through, you see where they talk about encouraging women, persons living with disabilities, to apply. But when you don't even take time to do little things like that, you're actually excluding persons living with disabilities. And when businesses think of persons living with disabilities, they think of it from the charity part of view, forgetting that they are actually neglecting talented pool of people that will be resource to your organization, that you can't do without. When you get caught up, when you employ a person living with disability, and you get the value you get from it, like you yourself, you'll be like, oh wow, so this is what I've been missing. So it's not about, oh, I'm just employing a person living with disability because I'm pitying the person.
Sympathy.
No, because of sympathy. No, we're talking of doing it because the person qualifies for it, and making sure that you accommodate the person to be able to get their jobs done. So that takes me to my next point, where I'm about to talk about, that you're employing a person living with disability, so you need to anticipate and provide reasonable adjustment and accommodation for that person to be able to get their job done as well, and activities that will make a difference for persons living with disabilities. Their work experience, most times people say, oh, we will actually, and that is why we also that's why I also tell persons living with disabilities, nobody can make the noise that for you as much as yourself. So begin to show people what's possible, because the truth is, a lot of people don't even know that. I know by watching some people just on social media, there are times that people are like, wow, so this person is an amputee, both hands, and is able to do these things. But if you don't show what's possible, people just assume out of their own, out of the fact they feel like, oh, I'm pitying the person. But they actually don't know that you can do this. So begin to show, begin to talk the talk, show your value, and at the end of the day, to be a win-win for both parties. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Aisha. I like the fact that you went from the employers of labor to the employees living with disability themselves, as to talk the talk, walk the walk. Don't let them pity you. Show them what you have to offer. Thank God social media is a leveler now. Show us video of what you can do. Speak and let's hear you speak. I mean, do whatever it is. Promote yourself, sell yourself. And that way you can compete at par with neurotypical individuals or individuals with that disability. Thank you for those points. I will still want to speak to Barrister Catherine, but like I said, I call her the woman with the fire. I don't want her to burn this place up yet. So I want Uche to speak to us, being a teacher, teaching children with special needs, and in a school. What ways, knowing, I mean, you know the strategies you work with, you educate children when it comes to inclusion, we're advocating for inclusion. In what ways, and it's going to be two-way, just the way Aisha answered that question, what skills do you think these individuals, these little children, these children in schools, what skills, irrespective of their disability, what skills made you think, you know what, anyone that does not employ this child, or anyone who don't want to include this child in any activity, is the one at the missing end? Because these children have some skills and they have talents to offer. What are those talents? What are those skills? And also, what are the ways you advise teachers to include these children in learning when it comes to education?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Uche.
Can you hear me?
Very loud and clear, Uche. Okay, I think we've lost Uche for a bit. And
she's on mute.
On mute?
Yeah, she's on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Uche, we can hear you.
Okay. Like where I work in open door, I work with children with multiple handicap. Even with their multiple handicap, they do have potential. Like in open door, because the society does not understand the children, and what we do, after they are with us in school, we employ them to work in open door, because the society might not understand them because of their kind of disability. Now, I want to tell the society, first of all, we must go and learn more about disability. We must go, our society, especially the Nigerian society, we must go out of our way to learn about people with disability. If we want to give them the way that I the equality with others, when you can learn about them, because every one of them have potential, and they can fit in one way or the other. Some of them can be carpenter, some of them can be hairdresser with a little assistant. Me, I'm a teacher. I can't write, but I have assistants in my class to help me do my work effectively. I do the teaching, I tell them what to write when it comes to writing. So I think the society needs to kind of learn more about people living with disability before they can give them the opportunity like others. If we don't learn more about them, we'll keep reducing them and thinking they cannot fit into the society.
Fantastic. Thank you, Uche. Thank you. I'll try to summarize your points again. I like the fact that you mentioned that everyone should learn about disability. And that for me is the first thing we all need to know, because there's no way you can help me without knowing about me. What help do you want to provide? So it's our duty as member of society. Read up about disability. Look out for what ways can I help this individual. I was saying to someone, and this I also learned not too long ago, even with the fact that I work with individuals with disability, that when and Dr. Mustafa, are you there? I need you to confirm this for us. Dr. Mustafa,
Yes,
are
I
you
am
there?
there, and
So
yeah,
I
it
was
is
speaking
really
with a friend a while ago. I was speaking with a friend a couple of years ago, and I was talking about a colleague of mine while I was in my doing my undergrad years, and I saw this person. It was visually impaired, and I wanted to help, and I've never had any experience any individual who was visually impaired. So I grabbed this person's hand without asking if I could. I knew I wanted to help, so I grabbed his hand and was trying to help him walk. And I like the fact, the confidence this person said, look, you are not meant to grab one. Firstly, you need to ask me if I needed help. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I thought I was being helpful. And then he said to me, and you're not meant to grab my hands. I'm meant to grab your hands. What's the logic behind that, please, Dr. Mustafa? Can you please explain as someone that's visually impaired?
what's the last bit of the question? What is what? Sorry.
So I said that the person that I was trying to, so Uche was saying to us that we need to learn about disability before we can help to reduce the inequality among individuals with disability when it comes to inclusion. So I said to her that I had a very practical experience, and because you're visually impaired, you might be able to explain this concept to me. I was during my undergrad years back. There was this individual who's visually impaired in my school, and I felt I needed to help this person because I saw him working, and I said, oh, I went ahead and just rushed up and grabbed his hand, saying, oh, I didn't want him to fall, and I knew he couldn't see. And he called me that day, and he said to me, firstly, you need to ask if I needed help, and then secondly, you are not meant to grab my hands, I'm meant to grab your hands, because I'm not the one that is blind. Could you explain the concept behind this? Why did I? Yes, please.
Yeah, first, it's similar to what Aisha said, and I appreciate her point when she spoken about the correlation between disability and business, and how employers should appreciate capabilities of disabled people, but how also important for disabled people themselves to express their capabilities and skills, to show off in a way that we are here and we are able and we can do it, and things like that. And yes, theories and books and articles can say a lot about this, but I think by practice, by bringing disabled people in front of businessmen or in front of private companies and showing them that the former that the PWDs can and being able to compete in the labor market when if relying on if they have the enough accessible reasonable accommodation tools is
I think we've lost.
to reduce inequalities for blind people as other impairments. But what we have, what's important for blind people to do is to introduce themselves to their communities in a way that people can know who are the blind person, what the blind impairment can do, how you can functioning quite well if you have the enough equipments. And you know, there is that tradition that you either a supernatural person that you can do a lot, you know, than usual. Wow, you are disabled and doing this and that, or you are a person who are begging in the streets, and you know you have that charitable model of disability. What we need to do to achieve a true equality is for people with impairments to be seen equally, to be seen in a middle position. Not because you are disabled, you have to achieve a lot. You have to achieve a lot if you like to, and if you don't, it's absolutely up to you. I always feel that disabled people has been put in a judgment that they should always achieve a lot. Otherwise, the community will blame them or will not give them an attention. And we need to give disabled people an attention as a member of the community, regardless if he is achieved or not. I mean, disabled scientists or artists around the world, they are great not because they are disabled, but because they are fantastic artists. So they are good not because of their impairments, but because of their qualifications, because they have worked a lot on themselves to be able to achieve. You know, so it's important to relate the achievements to the person, not to his/her impairment, which is very, very important point. People say people who are the sportivo athlete, Paralympic athletes are great because they are disabled. No, they are great because they can achieve medals and they can swim and they can do and bring the medals. So they are great because they are great, not because they are disabled. And this is an important point. We don't need to disable to do the disablement approach as over people's qualification. And this is what disabled people can do. Show maybe short videos, YouTube, face-to-face introductions. And I don't know if I answered your question, but this is what I'm thinking. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mustafa. I was also asking about what's the idea behind when that individual said to me, "You are not meant to hold my hands. I'm meant to hold your hands." In getting to know individuals with, yeah. So what's the idea behind that?
I mean, people who are non-disabled doesn't know how to assist us, right? They doesn't know how to guide a blind person. They doesn't know how to give him support because mobility and orientation courses are not widely taught around universities or maybe around schools. So if you find someone blind in the street and he's crossing, you don't know how to hold his hands. You don't know how to guide him. And basically you don't know that because although there is a science behind it, but no one told the community on
True.
if you would like to assist, you assist this way. So because we have lots of slogans saying if you'd like to assist, you should assist right. Otherwise you'll not be otherwise rather than assisting me, you may push me in the middle of the street and maybe you got pushed by a car because you're putting me in front of you while I should hold your hand as a blind person, so you would be in front. So when you're turning right, I would be turning right behind you. So there are some mobility and orientation courses need to be introduced to the community.
True.
So if we would like to speak about inclusion, we would like to do it in a true way. Disabled people would not be able, sometimes they'll be shy, afraid to go outside to streets, basically because we don't have mechanisms for them to be mainstreamed, and part of which is the community support that they should give to them as well. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. I like the fact that you explained that because I had like, oh, I thought I was helping. But the way you broke it down really makes more sense. It drives it home for me. And talking about mobility orientation course, I hope when we have to speak about that course on this on this platform, you oblige us your presence to school us on how the mobility orientation has to do with individuals who are visually impaired or those who are blind.
Yeah.
We would love you to please walk us through that course one of these days. Is that a yes from you, sir?
The mobility orientation, there are, for example, in Beb.
Oh, we lost Dr. Mustafa, but I'm sure he'll be back because that stuck with me. And whenever I see anyone trying to, go help a blind person, or I'm like, no, you need to ask the person, and then you are supposed to lead while the person follow, and the person hold your hand. I didn't understand it very well the first day I was schooled on that, but I kept that in my long-term memory, so I don't make that mistake anymore. Thank you. So let me quickly go to Barrister Katri with us. I need her to speak on the issue of education, inclusive education, and how we can reduce the inequality amongst persons with disability through inclusive education.
Okora's first network is very bad. I can't see his sign. Can you repeat it again? Yes, repeat it. Your network freezes. Your sign freeze. I can't see it. Please repeat it. Zoom your cam. Sign freezes. Okora 4. Please type the question down. Let me read it. I can't see your sign. Freezing.
Okay, Barrister Ede, Barrister Ketrin, we're going to type it out right now. If the sign is freezing, we'll type it out to you on the private chat.
Button. StreamYard. Tooltip. Chat with the host and other guests. Comments tab item.
So if you check your private chat now, you see that the question has been sent to you. Let's put it on the comment section too. We've lost Barrister Catherine for a bit. I know Aisha would have to leave us soon. So Aisha, whenever you need to leave, we want to say thank you to you. You could just leave the studio and go about your other appointments. Thank you so much for being here, Aisha.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Have a great time.
Thank you.
La ilaha illallah.
Hi.
Thanks for having me
Barrister
again.
Catherine
Sorry.
still with us?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I don't know what happened with the connections, but I don't know if people heard my intervention as well.
Yes, we heard what you spoke to us about just before you went off. We are just about to listen to Barrister Catherine's response to how we can reduce inequality of persons with disability through inclusive education. While we try to get her back, I want you, Dr. Mustafa, to please help us with ideas. Just share some ideas with us with the work you're doing and how we can reduce inequalities among persons with disability when it comes to technology, access to technology, to transportation, and policies generally. Dr. Mustafa, are you there?
Backspace.
Yes, I am there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so yes, there are numerous ways that could be done to increase equality and remove barriers / inequality that disabled people face. Definitely, these would be remainder to the available sources. The priorities that given to disabled people in policies, and definitely the level of inclusion that accessing that happen with that country. But when it comes to your question about assistive technology, I should say that we are in a golden moment now where we have low and high tech tools that is definitely can support disabled people. That definitely can support disabled people to equally access all fields of education, employment, sports. So if I use blind people for example, we have a fantastic technology now with iPhone, fantastic braille displays, with computer softwares of JAWS, and as Aisha mentioned, with graphics. Disabled people can do a lot with using technology. It's not an
Hello.
addition, but rather an essential horizon,
Hello.
a new horizon for disabled people. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So yeah, so definitely technology is an important solution, and we have the G3 ICT. We have the WHO priority list of that could be assistive technology that could be applied in lower and middle income countries, in Arabic and English, available in their websites. We have many countries' strategies where they are relied on assistive technology to increase the inclusive education access. So for different people with different impairments to access schools. Technology definitely reduced inequality in higher education as well. So disabled people now can access numerous colleges and schools, and so on and so forth. But definitely, the aspect of technology at the end of the day is a tool. But what you need for these tools is drivers. So you need drivers to take these tools forwards. And in my opinion, drivers is policies, drivers is budgets, drivers are inclusion, that could be a concept that cross-cutted among policies and development programs, and more importantly, political will from governments, and the global support that given through the UNCRPD and SDGs that countries abide by. Because now, as you know, lots of countries issued their own national strategies as a response to UNCRPD and SDGs as well. So those as well, including technology as a cross-cutting and among other themes that definitely can reduce inequalities. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now we're back to Dr. Barrister Catherine, and this question is for you.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I have read it. Okay. From my practical experience, what person with disability need is firstly understanding. Understanding. And you cannot understand if you are not close enough. Now, this is where inclusive education is very, very important. And this should be captured.
I think we've lost Barrister Catherine again. Like we all know, these are. I think she's back. Oh wow, we lost her again. I would have wanted her to explain to us because of the kind of work she's doing.
Okay. This is the age we call age of innocence. Mean when the children are very young, if we practice inclusive education, non-disabled children get to interact with disabled children. When they do not know anything about discrimination, they play together.
Yeah.
Interact together, both inside and outside classrooms. That way, they come to understand the ability in people with disability. Interacting with non-disabled classmates help me and help them. I inspire them. And all up to today, they continue to greatly respect me. And I know with the type of experience they had with me, in any area they find themselves, they will be inclusive. Why? Because they already have a person with disability they're going to know very well and close to them. This is why inclusive education is very, very important in bridging gap and helping to curb inequality. You have got to understand people with disability before you understand what disability is all about. If you stand from a far distance and say that you want to understand or help, it cannot work that way. So we have to push for inclusive education, and the parents should stop influencing or I don't know how to injecting some cultural, primitive, and archaic whatever in the children. Disability is a result of cause. Disability is this, disability is that. They all talk this out of ignorance. Before now, when I became deaf, I used to think about myself. What happened? Do it mean that somebody caused me? Do it mean that maybe my great-grandfather did something that is now affecting their great-grandchildren? But it was when I entered Oyo, Federal College of Education, Oyo, that I now want to understand everything about disability because they are taught as a cause. It is just a natural phenomenon. But I wish that multitude of people in the society will understand this, so that they will stop brainwashing their innocent children. If we allow your children to school with disabled people, we are helping to stop the inequalities in the society, because we are helping them to also be very inclusive, exposing them to understand what diversity is all about. Now you ask me question, how can we help to bridge or stop the inequalities? Be open to inclusive education. Stop propagating archaic belief. Even if you don't have school, you can also allow your children to school with disabled children. Not because you feel they are disabled, and your child come back and tell you, money, there is one blind child that is now in my school, the same class with me, and sitting on the same school. You are not helping matter. You are discriminating. And until you stop that, the discrimination will continue to affect not only people with disability, but the growth of our nation. So this is why I'm pushing for inclusive education. Starting from the innocent age, prepare them on how to be socially inclusive in all daily. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for shedding light on how we can reduce inequality among persons with disabilities through inclusion. Thank you for helping us understand what individuals with disability are going through. Thank you for also helping us understand the various kind of disability. Barrister Catherine, I want to thank you for your tenacity, for all that you do in promoting inclusive education. I also want to thank Dr. Mustafa for all the research work you're doing and how you're promoting inclusivity and everything you're doing to ensure that the world is indeed inclusive for individuals with disability. Uche, how can I thank you? Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you for not just acquiring education for yourself alone, but going ahead to teach other children with disability and also ensuring that they're being employed even in the school that you teach at. I want to thank Aisha in absentia. Her story really, one led her to what she's doing touched me so much that I wish I can meet more people like her. Thank you, Aisha, for all that you do for individuals with disability when it comes to employment. Mr. Alex, thank you for always making this program an inclusive one to all of our audience who have listened. I hope that all that we've learned today will take it back to the society, to our world, to the place of work, to everywhere we are, to ensure that we practicalize all that we've learned in order to make the world truly inclusive for individuals with disability. This is all we can take for today. And I want to say thank you again for joining us. And we'll see you again next week, even as we speak more on finding out which specialist. Thank you and have a blessed week. Bye-bye, everyone.
D-Y-S-L-E-X-I-A. He'd give anything to make it go away, even though he knows it's here to stay. Buckets, he won't give up, no, no, cause you know he's way too tough. He's gonna do whatever it takes. He's gonna find a way. Casey never liked school much. All the kids would laugh when he read in class. Teachers tried to help him out, but they didn't know what to do, so they just let it pass. Sometimes he wanted to scream out loud, hide his head in the sound of the clouds. D-Y-S-L-E-X-I-A. He give anything to make it go away, even though he knows it's here to stay. But Casey won't give up, no, no, cause you know he's way too tough. He's gonna do whatever it takes. He's gonna find a way.